Yesterday, from the time of me recording this video, I just happened to be on my phone. I was actually on Threads and I was scrolling through, and something popped up on my Threads timeline basically stating that the Trump administration was going to block Harvard University, Harvard College, whatever it's called, from instituting or enrolling international students or foreign students. Now, enrolling international students is far from new for any college, whether it's a PWI or an HBCU. I went to an HBCU and they used to enroll international students all the time. It wasn't a lot of them, but they did enroll them, and you knew that they were international because they never failed to tell you where they were from, especially if you just happen to ask. But the irony of this happening is that I recently did a video about what Christopher Rufo was talking about, how he said Harvard is not adhering to the quote unquote DEI stuff that Trump has laid at their feet, and basically saying in so many words that they were breaking the law. And we all know the reason why he was really upset is because when he was looking at the teachers of the faculty, the people that were being enrolled were mainly women and quote unquote minorities, but there were no white men present. And he said he was going to do something about it. How ironic, a week later, after me recording that video, this pops up. So we're going to go ahead and get into it, because what I think is even more interesting is that Harvard said, oh no, we going to clap back at you. So let me get through this part first, and I'll get to that part, how Harvard responded, because they definitely responded. So this Trump administration blocks Harvard from enrolling foreign students, threatens broader crackdown. Now, if you look at the picture on the screen, it says foreign students enrolled at Harvard in fall 2024. And then it has a map right there displaying where the foreign students were enrolled from what nation and what country. And as you can see, they come from all over. Now you can see why they, like, a lot of people always say they want to go to Harvard. Look at how many international students come from their homeland to the States just to go to school. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration revoked Harvard University's ability to enroll international students on Thursday, and is forcing current foreign students to transfer to other schools or lose their legal status, while also threatening to expand the crackdown to other colleges. So I think that second part was the part that really pissed people off, was telling people who are foreign students that if they don't adhere to whatever it is, not only are we going to ban other people from coming over here to go to this school, but we're going to make sure that the ones who are currently enrolled, we're going to force them out and transfer them. Now, let me just tell you something. That's not ideal, because transferring schools is not a 1-2 step process. It is more like a 1 through 20 plus step process. It's a very lengthy process. Now, thankfully for me, I never had to go through that. But the transfers of schools is not easy, especially since you have to make sure you end up going to a school that will apply your credits from your old school to that school, and also make sure that school has your major, because sometimes some certain credits don't transfer over. And what will happen is, if that does happen, you might actually have to end up repeating a classification or a year just to make up for that. So it's not an easy thing to do. So just to say, oh, just transfer it to another school, that's not realistic. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem ordered the department to terminate Harvard's University Student and Exchange Visitor Program certification effective for the 2025-2026 school year, the department said in a statement. Noem accused the university of, quote, fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party. Harvard said the move by the Trump administration, which affects thousands of students, was illegal and amounted to retaliation. The decision marked a significant escalation of the Trump administration's campaign against the elite Ivy League university in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which has emerged as one of Trump's most prominent institutional targets. The move came after Harvard refused to provide information that Noem demanded about some foreign student visa holders at Harvard, the department said. Harvard enrolled nearly 6,800 international students in a 2024-25 school year, amounting to 27% of its total enrollment. In 2022, Chinese nationals were the biggest group of foreign students at 1,016 university figures show. After that were students from Canada, India, South Korea, Britain, Germany, Australia, Singapore, and Japan. The Chinese embassy in Washington did not immediately respond to a request for comment. It is a privilege, not a right, for universities to enroll foreign students and benefit from their higher tuition payments to help pad their multi-billion-dollar endowments, Noam said in a statement. In a letter to the university, Noam gave Harvard the opportunity to regain its certification by turning over within 72 hours a raft of records about foreign students, including any video or audio of their protest activity in the past 5 years. Harvard called the government's actions unlawful and said it was fully committed to educating foreign students. This retaliatory action threatens serious harm to the Harvard community and our country and undermine Harvard's academic and research mission, according to the university in a statement. Congressional Democrats denounced the revocation, with U.S. Representative Jamie Raskin calling it an intolerable attack on Harvard's independence and academic freedom and saying it was government retaliation for Harvard's previous resistance to Trump. Trump has already frozen some $3 billion in federal grants to Harvard in recent weeks, leading the university to sue to restore the funding. In a separate lawsuit related to Trump's efforts to terminate the legal status of hundreds of foreign students across the U.S., a federal judge ruled on Thursday that the administration could not end their status without following proper regulatory procedures. It was not immediately clear how that ruling would affect the action against Harvard. During an interview with Fox News, the story with Martha McCullum, no one was asked if she was considering similar moves at other universities, including Columbia University in New York. Absolutely, we are, Noam said. This should be a warning to every other university to get your act together. So look at that. They are going after these Ivy League PWI schools hard. And basically, in so many words, it's almost like they're holding them for ransom, like almost like holding them hostage. Rather, but let's be completely blunt here. It's almost like they're threatening them. Like, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. And like I said, this is who they voted for. There it is. But see, like I said, now let me just say, I don't know what the voting style is for a lot of these people who go to these schools, but if you voted for this man, hey, if you thought it was just economics and deportation, now you can see it definitely wasn't that. That's just what he said to get your vote. But this is what he really wants to do. It says Trump, a Republican, took office in January, pledging a wide-ranging immigration crackdown. His administration has tried to revoke student visas and green cards of foreign students who participated in pro-Palestinian protests. He has undertaken an extraordinary effort to revamp private colleges and schools across the U.S., claiming they foster anti-American Marxist and radical left ideologies. He has criticized Harvard for hiring prominent Democrats for teaching or leadership positions. Goes back to what I was talking about with Christopher Rufo. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services said on Monday that it was terminating a further $60 million in federal grants to Harvard because it failed to address the anti-Semitic harassment and ethnic discrimination. In a legal complaint filed earlier this month, Harvard said it was committed to combating anti-Semitism and had taken steps to ensure its campus is safe and welcoming to Jewish and Israeli students. Aaron Reichland Melnick, a senior fellow with the American Immigration Council, a pro-immigration advocacy group, said the action against Harvard's student visa program needlessly punishes thousands of innocent students. None of them have done anything wrong, and they're just collateral damages to Trump. Reporting, and that's pretty much it right there. So there it is right there. Trump said, okay, if y'all don't want to play ball, fine. I'm going to find a way to revoke one of your biggest cash cows, and that's getting enrollment from these international students. I will block them from being able to enroll, and I will force the ones that are currently there to just simply transfer to another school. Now, remember what I told y'all earlier about how Harvard is clapping back? Well, check this out. Unlawful and unwarranted. Harvard opens second lawsuit against the Trump admin. And this is coming from masslive.com. Less than 24 hours after the Trump administration revoked Harvard University's ability to host international students, the institution is suing the federal government again. The university has filed a complaint, and a motion for a temporary restraining order will follow. We condemn this unlawful and unwarranted action. It imperils the futures of thousands of students and scholars across Harvard and serves as a warning to countless others at colleges and universities throughout the country who have come to America to pursue their education and fulfill their dreams, said Harvard President Alan Garber in a Friday letter. Now, remember what it said in the previous article when some woman had went on there and was asking Christy Noem, will this affect other colleges as well, such as Columbia University? And Christy came back and said, absolutely, we are. So this is where the president of Harvard was saying, this is a warning sign that, heads up, it's not just going to happen to us, it'll happen at other schools. So basically, like I said, it's almost like play ball or we're going to snatch something from you. This is what it looks like, in my opinion, or sounds like, to live in under a dictatorship reign right here. That's exactly what is playing out in real time. The revocation comes after the federal government gave Harvard University an ultimatum in April to submit detailed records about foreign students or lose the certification. Garber said the university responded to the Department of Homeland Security's request as required by law. U.S. Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said it was unsatisfactory. Harvard will have another opportunity if it provides detailed records about international students within 72 hours, according to Noem's letter. About 27% of Harvard's undergraduate and graduate schools are international, according to 2024 and 2025 data. For those international students and scholars affected by yesterday's actions, you know that you are vital members of our community. You are our classmates and friends, our colleagues and mentors, our partners in the work of this great institution. Thanks to you, we know more and understand more, and our country and our world are more enlightened and more resilient. We will support you as we do our utmost to ensure that Harvard remains open to the world. The Student and Exchange Visitor Program, also known as SEVP, allows higher education institutions to issue visa application forms to prospective international students after admitting them. The forms are used to apply for a visa to enter the United States. The certification requirements include that the school is operational and instructing students, has the necessary facilities and adequate finances to operate, provides instruction to a degree or objective, and meets state requirements to operate. Institutions are recertified every 2 years, but can be evaluated at other points in time if they have information suggesting that it isn't complying with regulations. If the certification is taken away, an institution isn't allowed to enroll international students. Current students would have to choose between transferring to another institution, leaving the U.S., or changing their immigration status, according to the ICE website. So I see right there that they actually went into more options, if you want to call them that, for those who don't want to transfer. Because remember, Trump said they have to transfer, but it says that they can transfer to another school, leave the establishment altogether, going back to their homeland, or they would have to change their immigration status. And the thing is, for them, this seemed like the best one for many of them to do would probably be even leaving the U.S. altogether. That's probably the best option out of all of them. And for them, they probably like none of these options are good. An example of the certification being stripped occurred at Herigawan University in California in 2016 after its CEO pleaded guilty to providing fraudulent documents to the Department of Homeland Security. Harvard has been in a battle with the federal government since April. There has been a wave of federal research grant terminations at Harvard University, in addition to a $60 million in multi-year grants, $450 million cut, and a $2.2 billion freeze. U.S. Education Secretary Linda McMahon has also told the institution that the federal government will be barring Harvard University from acquiring new federal grants, while the university continues to refuse to comply with the administration's demand for change on its campus. Harvard President Alan Garber wrote in a letter to U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon that they share the same common ground, but the university will not surrender its core legally protected principles out of fear. Garber pushed back on the administration through a lawsuit in April. The institution argues that its constitutional rights had been violated by the government's threats to pull billions of dollars in funding if the school didn't comply with demands for an overhaul. Following the $450 million announced cuts, the university amended its lawsuit. No government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue. Due to the federal cuts, Harvard announced that it was committing $250 million of central funding to support research impacted by suspended and canceled federal grants. So this is an interesting battle right here that's going on between Harvard and Trump. And it's crazy, like when you think about it, they said they've been going at it since April. It's now May. It's like, what in the world does Trump in particular have against this school? Some people were speculating because he couldn't get into the school. Some also was speculating because maybe his son Barron couldn't get into the school. And I think he got enrolled at NYU, which is another prestigious school. But who knows what what it really boils down to, because they say it's because of one thing, but usually it's something underneath that, other than just that. But shout out to Harvard for standing their ground. I mean, they're fighting an uphill battle that they're currently losing right now, but hey, at least they're not backing down at the same time, because the alternative to it could be catastrophic. Like Harvard is literally in a double-edged sword right now. It's either they comply with what's going on and they lose students, or they don't comply and they lose funding. Either way, it's a loss of money, because the students enrolling, that brings money into the school, and then they meet these quotas, and then they'll get funding by the state, and most likely also funding by the government as well. And then I think what really pisses probably the people at Harvard off, more so the president, is because it's a private institution, so they can pretty much operate within whatever bounds they really want to, as long as they meet certain requirements by the state and the federal government. They can pretty much do what they want. And pretty much what they're stating is what the federal government is doing right now, more so the Trump administration, is really illegal and it should not be happening. But because of who it is, the people are going to just turn a blind eye and just say that, oh, Trump is right, they should just do this. And like the president said, it's not the president, not Trump, but the president of the college said, let this be a warning to all these other quote unquote elite Ivy League or these prestigious schools. If you don't bow down and kiss the ring like we're not doing, they're going to come for you too. Why do you think so many stuff has popped up with like a lot of stores and companies saying that they slashed their quote unquote DEI programs and now they're getting all this funding? Because they scared. There's like I said, this is why I call the U.S. an establishment, because it runs like a corporation. They will drop all morals, assuming they had them, for that almighty dollar, for that mean green. But then on the back end, by them doing that, they're still losing something else. They're losing customers. They're losing probably brand deals. But as long as they can, kiss the ring and still get funding from Daddy Warbucks Trump, they're going to do whatever it is that they feel in which they can stay afloat at the very least. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.
But wait, there's more.
So this right here just kind of fell into my lap when I was trying to see if there was any updates for the story that you just heard. And sure enough, 3 days ago, from the time of me recording this part, which is on June 8th, 2025, a judge temporarily blocked Trump's ban on foreign Harvard students. It says a U.S. judge has issued a temporary restraining order blocking the Trump administration from enforcing a ban the president ordered barring Harvard University from accepting international students. The order by Judge Allison Burroughs, who is based in Massachusetts, said the oldest university in the U.S. would face immediate and irreparable injury if the proclamation went into effect. It says it's come in response to a lawsuit filed by Harvard on Thursday accusing President Donald Trump of waging a, quote, government vendetta intended to stifle free speech. Trump has argued that the ban is necessary on national security grounds and has accused Harvard of not doing enough to stop anti-Semitism on campus. And the thing about it is, I don't know if there is an alleged anti-Semitism going on this campus, but right now we can only take what he says with a grain of salt, because this is the same guy that said that there was genocide going on in South Africa, and everything about that got debunked. So you really have to take what he says with a grain of salt, because typically there's usually some type of backdoor agenda that's going on with that. You just have to really take that with a grain of salt. There's also some more additional information there, but it's more like a rehashing of what already was discussed in the previous part. So, but really the main part of it is that as of right now, Trump is not going to be allowed to do what he's trying to do. But the key word here is temporary. It doesn't straight out say ban or is permanent, which means this can turn and roll back around eventually, but as of right now, it's not going to happen.